guiding. I wanted to bring that book. I didn't bring my New Testament, but I'll show you in a second what I'm gonna mean. When you guide, we have these wonderful things called phones that have all kinds of information, and if we get stuck, we can look up our phones for extra. But when we're guiding, okay, let me show you the difference. In a few seconds, I'm going to read for you from Josephus. Okay, so we'll get out my copy of Josephus. The excerpt that we're going to read from Josephus, I happen to know by heart. Okay, but the difference between reading from a book that looks like this, okay, or reading from this, it's a prop. Okay, so if you have a group, listen, not with every group is that important. If you're with a Christian group that's here for a religious experience, you want to have a New Testament in your hand. Okay, that's what you have in your hand. Okay, now you have extra notes and this and that. We'll talk about notes. Listen, usually when I'm guiding, in my pocket right here, I have a card with all kinds of dates and information that I want to make sure that I know by heart. And maybe I'll peek at it in the break or when everybody's not looking. But I know it's here, and I won't look at it. Okay? But you do not, at a certain point, you cannot use notes while you're guiding. You can have a date here, a date there, that's on a thing that you can put it in the top of a picture so you can remember, but we have to know our information. There are reasons people pay us to tell them. And if there are too many things you don't know, they're going to start questioning why they're paying you. Okay, so let's go over the basic facts of this area. This is called the Siloam pool. Interesting to point out that all the Jewish sources, it's known as the Siloam. Only in the New Testament is that we call the Siloam pool. I might have the reason for that is that this area as a pool might have been only understood by the non-Jewish onlookers. That for Jews, this was what? A large public mikvah. And it was known as a Siloam. For extra credit, for those that understand, the waters coming here are coming from the spring. And until they spill over these steps to fill up the pool behind me and then become detached, this is a mikvah. And those are fresh water coming from a spring. That explains a Mishnah in Para that there's certain things you need real live fresh water. One of them is for the red heifer, and one of them is for Tarat Hazav, which you don't have to know about. If you know what I'm talking about, wonderful. If not, extra credit. But understand that only someone that was here could understand the difference between the two of them. Okay, which is very, very interesting. Now, going back to our story, until 2003, there was a street, more or less, where those people were walking. Underneath the street ran a sewer line that used to be here. Thankfully, they've moved it because it used to stink up the whole place. In 2000, there was a big rain in 2003, and the sewer line burst, and they had to bring in a tractor to clear out the road and to fix the sewer line. As the tractor was working, Eli Shukron, the archaeologist here, walked by, and he saw that the tractor was digging was not just regular stones. He said, "Stop." The tractor driver said, No, it's nothing, whatever. Eli Shukron said, "No, you have to stop. I have to do that. You understand, this tractor driver is on a contract. He doesn't want to lose his money." And Eli Shukron said, "No, we have to stop." And he called in the officials, and they started the excavation. Don't worry about the tractor driver. He got the contract for the whole project and was here working for many, many years. Don't worry about him. But Eli Shukron had discovered what? He discovered these stones. Now, under where you're sitting, okay, which we covered up with the wood, are stones that are steps in plaster. Underneath these, that were from the Hasmonean period. So what we have here is a stepped pool that we used to think that was four-armed. We don't know if it was a square, a trapezoid, some type of a square thing that covered this area that was used as the main pool before you ascended toward Temple Mount. And so, let's see if I have one of my pictures that they published here. Yeah, so something like this. Okay, and there are a few creations, and we'll see that over there. Now, one of the stories is happening right now because all we had was this section here, and that section here, and then this whole other area belonged to the Greek Orthodox Church, and we hadn't excavated it until about 4 months ago. When they started excavating, what do they find? Absolutely nothing, which is very depressing because what we expected is that this wall did what? Continued there. And guess what? It was chopped in half. And a similar thing is happening over there, although you see how we haven't gotten all the way down to the other edge. So this was a huge pool. And again, where you would, depending on the depth of the water, you would either immerse yourself here or down there or even farther down. Okay, so this is what it was. Now, this isn't the reason you came to Jerusalem. What is this? This is just the stopping off point. What were you interested in doing?
Going
the temple.
Up
to the temple. And that's why the Step Street that they found was so important. Now, before I go into the Step Street, let's just review the importance to the Christian story. In the Gospel of John, chapter 9, it is described that this is where Jesus cures the blind man. Now, let's pay close attention to what he does. He spits down to the earth near his feet, takes mud, smears it on the blind man's eyes, and then tells him to go to the pool and wash it off with the water. So it means they weren't at the pool. They were close enough to send a blind man. He was still blind, so he couldn't have gone that far. Okay, so somewhere in the vicinity that took place. Now, after the destruction of the temple, this area goes out of use. And one of the things they're changing now is exactly when it goes out of use. But at least by the 4th century, when Evdokia, remember Evdokia? Yes. When she came to the city, this area was completely covered up by debris. And there was you couldn't see any of this. It's all covered up by dirt. And so she decided she wanted to build a church commemorating this miracle. And she could see water was coming out near where the minaret is, near where you come out of the water tunnel today. And she thought that is where the pool was. And so she built a church there. And that is where the church from the Byzantine period was built in commemoration of the Siloam miracle.
Yes.
Eudokia, yeah. Now,
Of Dokia.
the church was called the Church of Siloam. Church of Siloam. And in the 19th century, middle of the 19th century, this was excavated and discovered. And immediately after, what do the Waqf do? They built the mosque on top of the excavations of the church to claim it to be Waqf. And that's why when you come out of the tunnel, you are in a very interesting connection between the City of David organization, okay, and the Waqf that worked together. Even during the days of Intifada, I was working here. We still were working with the Waqf, going in and out with tourists, and people were ignoring everything else that was going on around us, which was quite weird working here during those days. Second Intifada and stuff like that, I was here. It was kind of wacko. Anyway, in any case, it's the early 2000s. They built it very modern. They built it in modern period, the minaret. Any case, that's what's going on over there. What are we going to do right now? We are going to go into the tunnels that are basically the step streets that will take us up to the temple. I don't know exactly which route they're going to let us go in when we go in now. There's lots to talk about, but from this point on, at least we're indoors, and that we can get away from a little bit of